And today we're talking about um what if you're here, it is probably because you like this kind of 3D modeling, or because your algorithm has taste, I don't know. And today I will be taking you through my workflow for making characters like these. And note, this video is about my preferred way of modeling and not about this is how you should model, trust me. And for that reason, if you want to observe the process better, I've also posted a speed modeling version of this video. This model is also available on Gumroad, so if you wish to support me or use this model as a basis for your own character, I don't know, whatever you may do with her, the link is in the description. This is when I lock in and decide what to model. I chose the popular Ritra now Miku design because I like the song. Here, take a listen. Never mind. We're going to need an A-posing reference image for modeling and the original design for inspiration. Okay, I almost never use primitives for low poly modeling because I prefer placing vertices manually to have more control on the overall typology and silhouette of the model. This fine control on the typology is very important for later when we will move on to texturing and rigging. So overall, to give you a definition, a broad definition of good typology, good typology is whether your model deforms well when rigged and how good do textures map on it, if there is not a lot of texture stretching and that sort of stuff, but we'll get to that later. The torso is a key part of the model. The way the torso looks literally shapes the rest of the model. I'm not kidding, it's that important. With all of the references imported into Blender, I start with a simple vertex that I insert right below the belly. I extrude and create a ring that creates the top part of the hips and back. This ring usually has like 3 or 4 sides, and with the mirror modifier sums up to 8 sides. I almost never stay in orthographic view, but rather prefer to orbit all the way around my model. This helps me a lot in making sure the silhouette of the model looks right. And I've been throwing this buzzword around for quite some time now. The silhouette is very important. And if I had to give one singular piece of advice, it would be this leedoppo's tweet. This image literally contains so much knowledge that I can't even explain it. So always look your models from all angles with flat shading to make sure they look right and not flat. And while I try to keep my poly count as low as possible and stylized, I like to insert details that are seemingly anatomically correct, like curves to the forearms and calves that I can add with the knife tool. And regarding the torso, I like to include both these little triangles right below the chest that act as the ribcage tips, and also have the stomach follow this V shape for the abs. Little parentheses, the way you position your edges obviously determines how your model is shaded. So if you put the abs in a V-shape arrangement, the shading will make them look much better and more realistic. And climbing up towards the chest, I try to keep it nice and round, while also keeping an eye on the vertices, of course. I use a lot of merge and knife tool for this part or any typology intensive parts. Once we fight with the chest for some time, it's time to move on to the collarbone area, which is also very difficult since it will have to deform well later on with the shoulder when we're going to rig it. And this area, I like to keep it very dense for that reason, so that it can deform well with the shoulder and not break horribly. And I like to start with the base of the neck first, which usually means like making the color of the t-shirt if the character is wearing baggy clothing or something like that, or the neck of the character if it's wearing skin-tight clothing. Triangles are very helpful here since they can influence how the mesh will deform later. So studying the arrangement of your triangles and even creating small rigs to try out quickly how the shoulder deforms is very helpful and very important. They're also very helpful since they can help you connect fewer faces to more faces, so you can scale up and scale down the density of the faces around the collarbone area as you wish. At this point, I also started modeling the first details of the torso and the skirt. And I won't go into the details here since these are very specific parts of this model and not that generic at all. But you can always check out the speed modeling video if you wish. I try to stay as truthful as possible to the original concept and try to replicate the shapes with as few polys as I could. For this reason, I plan to paint the patterns of the shirt into the texture and not actually model them, and I subdivided the skirt into 3 layers. And the top layer was actually the hardest one to model, and getting this shape to work with so few polys was actually kinda hard, but I think I got it. I modeled the legs and arms with a simple rotated cube that I extruded along the reference image. And this simple shape lets us save a few triangles instead of going with the classic cylinder, and I could get away with it since Miku's legs and arms are pretty slim, so it doesn't really matter with the fewer poly count. If you do need bulkier legs or arms, cylinders do preserve volume better when you orbit around them, so they are the better choice here. You may also have noticed the joints typology that I've used, and this is basically a special vertices arrangement that makes the joint bend better when rigged. And I experiment a lot with a quick armature to test out how the joint bends and if I like it or not. Moving on to the face. The face is actually a pretty hard part of the model since there's a lot of room for error. And a lot of parts where to mess up and make the face look like a bulldog. Anyway, the reason I brought back the camera is to show you an exercise that I actually do while modeling the face. So I tend to actually get the silhouette and the contour of the face wrong most of the time, and what helps me get back on track is actually tracing with my own fingers my own face. So I would start from the nose and trace around my eyes and the cheeks. This helps my brain sort of connect how my own face is modeled, and I can recreate that with my own model. So basically trace around your nose, your cheeks, and how your jaw connects to your ears and everything else. This can help you a lot in understanding how a face is structured and how you can make your model look better. So like how the forehead drops onto the jaw and everything else. And you can position your vertices along these line guides and everything else, and it will make the model look a whole lot better. Modeling the hair is also fucking annoying since it's mostly a tangled mess of quads that I have to shape in one way or another. I subdivide the hair in a front section, side section, and a back section, and basically the front section is the hair that falls directly upon the eyes. The side section basically creates the curtains around the face and on top of the ears, and the back section connects into the how do you call them? The back strands, the hair that's long that falls down onto the back. I don't know how it's called in English. A lot of the hair is made up of quads, and I use the merge tool to create the triangles at the tips. Modeling the hair usually revolves around following the reference, but about the back hair, I tend to create these singular strands that I rotate and duplicate to create this sort of volume around the hair. And when modeling them at first, I realized way too late that they looked like someone hair dried them at max velocity from below, but fortunately nothing a little sculpt mode couldn't fix. You might find my texturing process a bit esoteric, let's put it that way. The process is very simple and almost always the same. I decide on a portion of space to dedicate to one or several parts of the model, and I fill it with a solid color in Blender. Then I export the texture to Krita, and I do my texturing work into Krita. Hopping back into Blender, I make any necessary adjustments to the UVs and re-export the texture and rinse and repeat until texturing is done. I settled on a 256 square texture for the whole model and two small 64 squares textures for the mouth and the eyes. I'd say the hardest part about texturing is settling on where to position the seams of the model, which is something I also plan unconsciously while modeling. Like, I knew already I wanted to place a seam right here, while other seams may come up spontaneously, like these seams in the hair, once you get to texturing. But at the end of the day, the ideal is having your UVs follow the pixel grid of your texture, and when it comes to actually painting your textures, and so the process of texturing itself, I follow as my Bible that very same leedoppo suite. I start with a solid color, then I add details, then I add shadowing and highlights, and ambient occlusion. Maybe not in that order, but those are basically the steps. And I tend to stick to very basic brushes since I am not a digital artist, so I don't know what I'm doing actually. I also play a lot with the blending modes since I really don't know what they're doing, so I experiment a lot. But some general guidelines are using multiply for shadowing and screen for highlights, though that I can certainly say. Our journey finally ends with rigging, and if you've done everything correctly at this point, rigging should be like the peace at the end of the storm. This is because I don't actually create my rigs because I'm not insane, and I actually use Rigified. After modifying the meta rig for a while, and I would love to show you how I made the meta rig, but turns out I don't actually know myself because I had to read through tons and tons of documentation just to get it right and working. I generate the Rigify rig and use automatic weights to rig the model. Obviously, there's going to be some weight painting to do since automatic weights only get so far. Okay, so I actually didn't have time to record an outro for this video while at home, so here we are at my grandma's house. I really wanted to push this video out as soon as possible because school has been getting in the way like a lot. I didn't want to delay it any further, so I wanted to get it done ASAP. Either way, I actually loved modeling this model, even if it was almost a month ago. I learned a lot of things and I knew it was going to be quite a challenge due to the skirt and a lot of other details that may go unnoticed but that are actually kind of hard to figure out. So this has been it for this video. I hope to be able to publish again soon if I can figure out how to combine all of my schedule and shit. Also, this is a Nokia, which is my microphone of choice.